are listening to the Ropes N Riffs podcast with your host, John Kiernan.
Mercedes Martinez enjoying so many celebrations, enjoying your birthday, enjoying 24 years in the business, all these things. And you're coming on here. I appreciate you. How you doing?
Yes, it's an honor to be a part of this, John. Thank you. I know we worked so much, and it's a pleasure to be one of your firsts. Yes. So that's a celebration in itself. But yeah, celebrating 24 years, celebrating my birthday. It's a good November so far.
It's so exciting. And it's one of these things where you were saying that it's your birthday. You're saying that you're 24 years. We have all these awesome things happening. You're a veteran. You're one of those people in the industry that comes off and everybody knows. How's it feel to have that cachet in the industry of just saying, you know what, I've been in this game so long and this is what you have. This is awesome.
It's there's pros and cons to it. I think I'm actually very blessed and I'm very grateful and very humbled to still be in this business, hitting 24 years. I didn't even think I was going to make it to 20, even 10 at that, especially with women's wrestling and the decades that I've been through it and just the ups and downs of it. But just to still be here grinding and hustling and winding down little by little, as we age and my body's giving me the signals and stuff. But I still want to be a part of the business and still give back to women's wrestling and to the young and upcoming wrestlers. And I still do my indie dates and stuff and my independent bookings just to see what's out there, see the girls, and just get my reps in because I still love this business. I would always love this business, but just to be considered a veteran and people look up to me and stuff, that's still a humbling and just an awkward experience for me because I'm a very private person and I'm not one to be up in the spotlight like that. But it's a very blessed opportunity that I was given, and I'm just doing the best that I can with it.
I still remember us hanging out over at Monster Factory down in New Jersey. And you were just like, wait a minute, like, you're here? I'm like, wait, you're here. This is crazy. So it's so cool to continue to see just everywhere you're going and obviously doing amazing work with AEW, doing amazing work in Ring of Honor, just continuing to crush the game as we know you do. And, I've been grateful to be part of your sonic part of your career in probably the last 4 or 5 years or so with the different themes that we've been able to jam on together. And as always, thank you so much for trusting me with that. And with Ropes and Riffs, we talk about wrestling, we talk about music, and when we get the opportunity to have a conversation with people that we've worked with, I love to be able to have that here. And for me, it was such an awesome experience to just obviously see the theme that we've worked on over the years grow into different elements. But that first night that you came out on AEW and you had the whole mask on and everything and the reveal was there, it was just like, Mercedes is here. It's awesome. And then you had your first match and you heard the theme. How was it for the first time walking out into AEW and hearing your theme go off?
It's awesome because sometimes it's a weird concept sometimes. Listening to my music in a car and thing, it's you think about your entrance, you think about, all right, the lights maybe here, maybe there, and then you do rehearsals and you always think you're gonna mess up. I always think I'm gonna miss a beat. I'm always thinking, okay, where's the camera? Am I gonna do this? Am I gonna do that? How long is the ramp? You try when you make my music, there has to be like a delay somewhere so you can get to here and there. And it's humbling, but it's also like scary because I always feel like I'm gonna trip. I'm going to miss the camera. Where here? Can I hear? Sometimes you can't hear the beats. So I know my theme music by heart now, so I know where the beats are. But it's a great feeling to know that when you hear your music, it's yours. It's something that you help create. It's something that you envision. It's something that you can jam to. And it's not anybody else's. It's not like a generic music that someone said, here, this is you, this is your character. No, it's something that me and you put together. We put some time in and I said no to this and I said speed. It's humbling and it's so awesome to hear that and walk out to it and just see your vision come to life. And I'm sure that you're proud of it when you hear it and with the whole get up for me. But for me, it's just like, yes, this is mine. This is my theme. I can rock to it. And I hope that, my fans and the audience understand why that music is the way it is and why. And sometimes people don't understand what goes into a theme entrance, because it's a part of you. It's literally is. It's not just the character, but that music is a part of me and what I'm about, and just the riffs that it goes through and stuff. So just hearing it for the first time was like, all right, I got this, and I'm not going to trip. I'm going to get in here at this beat. It never works that way, though. I always miss something.
I think we all do, but that's also being part of a live capacity like you're doing here.
Yeah,
But you've always rocked it out on stage. And what's cool is,
I try.
you know, we talk about a couple of different themes. So the original one that we had worked on that's grown into your Ring of Honor and AEW themes was the one that we had done when you went to Impact, which was Brass City Revolution. And when you listen to that theme, I think you hear in the later iterations of everything you've done, even in your tag team with Diamante with No
Yes.
Paz, you hear that there are those little chunks from the previous that we just kept in to say, okay, no, this is Mercedes. Anytime you hear Mercedes or think of Mercedes, you're going to think of this little melody here. How important do you think it's been to have little pieces of those themes from previous that have gone through the entirety of your career so far, from the from Evolution into No Paz?
It's very important because I look at music as a reflection of who I am, and even just a little bit of something. It's an evolution. Going into 24 years, it's an evolution of my career, and music is a big part of that. From doing the Impact music, there was no words. There was just the beat and the music, and it was more uplifting. It was more like, hey, I'm doing this new transition from one company to another. Like, this is a new Mercedes, a new gimmick, a new. How do I say, like, I went from the Latina sensation to the OG badass, so it's an evolution, and there's certain parts that we have to keep in the music because fans resonate with that when they hear certain riffs and they hear certain parts. They're like, that's Mercedes. So I tend to, and as we worked in the last two musics, especially with the music with Diamante, they has to be a part of Mercedes in there because people resonate with that and they know that that part is important for a reason. It just keeps me evolving as a performer, but involving with music, and keeping the fans hooked into something instead of just coming something with brand new and they're like, who is this person? And here I am coming out. They're like, that's not Mercedes, that's not their music. You want to keep things on a level playing field with them so they know what your music and they know who's coming out, with the same gimmicks. So I think it was very important to keep something in that little riff. It's like that hook and the horn, and the gun clacks. Just something has to stay consistent so people know that it's me. And even if the beats change or the melodies change and the flow changes, there has to be something that hooks them, like, okay, we know this Mercedes. This is just Mercedes evolving into something different. We always have to evolve in this business to keep our longevity.
Exactly. And I love how sensitive you are too when it comes to some of the things that have stayed in the theme, some of the things that have fallen by the wayside. For me, and when we started working together, one of the big things that you had always discussed was the fans have to be into it. The fans got to be into it from the first time they hear it. And when we went from OG Badass, which was, I think, the second iteration of it, and then we went to Brass City Sleeper, which is the one you hear most currently, with Denise on it, with Jasmine on it, which is just awesome. I think you hear those elements moving around in the presentation that you're giving at the time. But I love how sensitive you've always been in terms of, hey, this is working. Let's go ahead and amplify this more. This is something that I'm noticing people are doing. Let's go ahead and bring that out more. Is that something that you take throughout your entire career with, hey, not just with the music, but maybe things you're doing in ring that work, things that you're doing in the entrance that work? Are you just as sensitive to those things, and do you make those changes over time?
I'm sensitive to things that work. Throughout my career, there's certain things that I kept from the beginning of my career to now that I still do, and even in ring stuff. Entrances are important, but I try to not be so elaborate because I'm not an elaborate person. I'm an OG. I'm an old gangster here. So I'm not like super charismatic. I'm not super. I am who I am, and it's hard to translate that on TV and through your entrances and through my work. I think when people watch me wrestle, I have signature moves that I've been, doing forever. It's just where you place them. I'm very sensitive to certain things. when it comes to the way I portray myself in the ring. The way I am in the ring sometimes doesn't translate to the way I am in personal life. That personal. I'm a sweetheart, okay? But in the ring, I have to translate to something different, and the music plays a role in that. My gear plays a role in that. My gear, I'm very sensitive to my gear and the way it has to look, and the way the layouts is, and the way things are. And my gear has evolved tremendously throughout these years, as well as my music. If you ever heard my first music ever, my first entrance, it was Live at Jimmy's. That was the name of my music, Cuban Lincoln, Angie Martinez. And it was so upbeat, and you come out, and I came out dancing, and I was like, wait, but that's the Latina sensation, very upbeat, very going, hitting that Latin roots. And as my career transition, my moves transition, the gear transition, the way I do my entrance transitions, everything's evolving. And I'm very clued in into what works for the people and for the fans and what can they get into. But it also depends on if I'm a good guy or a bad guy, or am I in betweener? Who am I wrestling? Sometimes things have to change in the mid match, but like maybe I come out as a good guy and then I change to a bad guy. So my music has to reflect that as well. My gear has to reflect that as well. There's a lot of interchangeable and audibles that we have to call, but one thing that I know for sure when it comes to my music is that if I can rock to it, I know my fans can rock to it. If I can't rock to my music and it just feels off, then I can't get into my music, because the music is the first thing people hear. It's the first thing that I hear to get me through that curtain. It's the first thing that I'm jamming to, and if I feel good about my music, I'm not worried about steps or falling down the ramp or falling in the ring, then I know I'm going to have a good match. But if something's off, I'm like, man. But the music, if I can come out dancing and bop into my music, that's the first thing that gets me in a good mood when I go in the ring, because that's the first thing that everyone sees and hears, and then everything else happens from there.
I've been speaking to a lot of wrestlers recently, and I think one of the common themes is that not only is it that the music has to resonate with the fans, but the music's got to resonate with you. And even further than that is it's about this confidence that instills in you, right? Is you can have lots of different combinations of gear and music and things like that, but if it doesn't resonate with you and it doesn't make you confident, then you're doing a disservice to the audience. And with you, anytime we've had these conversations and created those themes, I always feel like in that iteration of Mercedes Martinez, you've seen that confidence. I feel like the most confident, though, has been in Brass City Sleeper. And I'm not talking about the tag team side. I'm just talking about with Brass City Sleeper. I remember that conversation with us was, I need people bopping to this, man. I need people up and down. I need it to be as engaging as possible. How did you, and let me ask you this too. We went from having no lyrics, right? We went from the Impact theme to the first AEW theme, which was OG Badass, to Brass City Sleeper. For you, what were you seeing in terms of, hey, this one needs lyrics?
I've never had lyrics, like besides my generic music. Back in the day when, I would put my music out there, it was always copyrighted music, but no one cared at that time. I did have an original music made from a guy named Pooh Bear up in Connecticut, and he had lyrics, but it was more just, it was a bop, it was reggaeton, it was, he had it added his lyrics, but it's more of a chorus type lyrics. So it's just one or two, phrases, and it went through the whole genre, thing, because at that time no one really did any type of music like that. So I knew that if I ever hit the big time, that my music has to translate me. And when I worked with, WWE, they had the music. We worked on our music. We changed it twice, and it fit for what it needed to be at that time. But I knew that once I did Impact, okay, we did, our music there, had no lyrics. And I was like, I need lyrics because I feel like I should be singing and bopping to my own music. And it was just something that I needed. Because sometimes, and this is maybe just my own personal preference, when you hear music and you just hear the tone and you just hear, the flows and stuff, you can bop to it, but you really just want to get into it. And sometimes lyrics actually tell a story of who you are or what you're going through, and lyrics resonates with a lot of people when they hear the lyrics. And that's what I wanted to do at this point in my career, was let me have lyrics that translate where I am now. Eventually we got to change it, right? But the lyrics now translate to what I was doing at that time, which I was a Ring of Honor champion. And I was like, I want people to sing to my music if they can, and just bop to it and just listen to the words and really just clue into music. It's one thing to be able to bop and just rock it and rock it and rock it, but when you can actually listen to the lyrics and it resonates with you, that's on a whole different level when it comes to fan base. Because now they're listening to why I am who I am, and they're listening to these lyrics. And if you dive into those lyrics, you can understand a little piece of Mercedes on a different level. And I think that's the way I wanted to go and give a little bit more insight to something. My gear is the same thing, but when it comes to music, I needed lyrics. I was like, it's just time. And Jasmine did a great job. She did that quick too.
Yeah, Jasmine's unbelievable. She is someone who I've worked with a lot on a couple different themes, and she turns things around so good, so
God,
quick. And like 6 different passes. She's like, take whichever one you want. I'm like, I want all of them. They're great. So
yeah, we got to give props to Jasmine. She did really good on this one, and it was really quick. I would love to work with her on a different project if we have to do a different music. I do want to change it up a little bit. When I do get back to TV, I think there's a lot of things going on creatively in my head as I hit my 25-year mark coming next year. It's just evolving, always evolving. So we got to get on that, John.
of course. Oh yeah, definitely. And also the fact is, she did a great job when sometimes I catch you singing it to the ring too. See, that's the important part too.
Yeah.
But I see you singing it too, which is I'm totally down for that, and I'm sure she is too. Now, when you are talking about different references, right? There's music that you're pulling on from all courses of your life, and one that we always talk about is Eve. Obviously, Eve and Missy Elliott are two that you and I
Yeah.
have always resonated on. Yeah. How important has music been in your life, both in and outside of wrestling, and who are some of the ones that you always go to?
I think music, and I'm very eclectic in my music. I can listen to anything as long as I can bop to it and it hits something. Music is just it's a therapy. It's a way to uh, kind of get your emotions out, the slow music, the jams. But I always tend to go to reggaeton. I tend to go to Mariah Carey, who I love and adore. But freestyle is a big thing. And the old school hip hop, where you got your Biggie and your Tupac, and I'm very transcendent. It doesn't matter if it's East Coast, West Coast, down South, North, it doesn't matter. But Eve, Missy Elliott, that's the stuff that I grew up. I'm an 80s baby, 90s, the 2000s genre. And it's hard to get away from that because that's music that when you listen to the lyrics is what gets me. And you got your bops, and like I said, once you got your bops but if you listen to the lyrics, those lyrics hit you in a different way that most people don't realize. Music now is a lot different. I can't get into music now. I'm like, I don't understand what they're saying. But back then it was all about the bops, but when you hear the bars is what gets you. And if you they're understandable, you can understand the bars. But on my playlist before I go do anything, even for wrestling, it's always a reggaeton. It's also bachata and that soft music because it calms me down. It calms those nerves down. So that's the first thing that I listen to is calm the nerves, the slower music, the bachata, the reggaeton, and all that. That's what my dad listened to. That's what my mom listened to. Then I get into the freestyle to be like, all right, now I'm ready in dance mode, and then I get into that Eve, and I get into the Missy Elliott, and I get to Queen Latifah and MC Light. Like I get to that kind of music because that's that gangster music that people don't. You got to remember that and that's what gets me in that mode. Like, all right, now I'm a gangster. I'm gonna go out there and kick ass, and I think that part of my music in my playlist is very important, and it stays the same. I think it's been the same playlist from like probably 2003 and on. It hasn't changed. It's my Mercedes wrestling playlist. I'll add one or two things in there, but for the most part, it stays the same because it's evolving, but it's keeping myself level. It's what works for me.
And that's the thing is you're not forced to listen to different music over time.
Yeah.
You got what you like, you know what you like. And, with that roster, I mean, that's great music. It was funny too when you first were just like, hey, for Brass City Evolution, hey, take a listen to this. And it was Eve, Who's That Girl? And you brought me back into childhood. And I was like, this is great. This is
It's
awesome.
that riff. It's just that riff. It's just, and I was like, so it's like a bop, but she's hardcore, man. She's an OG.
Yeah. Yeah. The intro for it, it's like the intro, you hear it, you don't expect it to go as hard as it goes 30 seconds
Yeah,
later. You're like, all right, yeah.
exactly. And that's the whole point. It's like, yeah, you're going, and all of a sudden it goes hard, and you're like, oh, damn, like she's going in, and then you hear the lyrics, and it's just like, it literally gelled. And that's the kind of feeling I wanted to go to when we did our first entrance. It was like, I kind of want that where people are like, oh, shit. And then it just goes hard. You're like, oh, that's it. And then I just wanted to add a different element as we evolved the music, was just change it up, do this, maybe add OG Badass for that second one. But this one, the Brass City Sleeper, it's a good one because it's got those lyrics. And when I walk out and people hear the the lyrics, they actually jam to it and they sing it with me, and I'm just like, all right, cool. Like that's what I wanted, and that's just a different feeling than just not having. When people can sing your music, that's on a whole different level.
Yeah, and I think kind of like you said, tying it into all of them too. With the Brass City Evolution, I think with that one, we really brought out a lot more of like the melodic side. You know, there was a guitar line in there that was,
Yeah.
I always call it like the Spanish Harlem kind of vibe. And it sounded really cool. I loved it. But I remember when we went to do OG Badass, you were like, no, gotta strip all that. It's gotta be super hard, super in your face. And I remember one of the conversations we had was about the gunshots, because that's become, you know, a bit of a staple in some of the themes, right? And for me, I was just like, I don't know. You probably take some of the guns out. You're like, no, has to sound like a firefight. Super guns. So I love that. That
But
was
it
always
doesn't. The guns are great. It just it's a thing, and I think it's because it's been a kind of staple throughout my whole career. But I didn't want the guns to be like the generic guns, or it
right.
needed to be something that was quick, and it was just like, I got you, boom, boom, boom. It
Yeah.
needed to be something like that, but it doesn't overpower the music. It doesn't overpower the lyrics. Is what I wanted to make sure when it came to Brass City Sleepers. Like it's still there, but it's very subtle, and it's not. It doesn't take over the music. I know when we did the tag with me, No Pause, it would had to be really there because that's Diamante's gimmick too. That's her thing. So we had to make sure her thing is all about that click clap boom boom boom. I'm not into. I needed some of that, but that's on her. So my music is more just it's a bop. Let's just have some fun, but just know that we have to go hard because even though I'm fun and smiling and dancing, I'm gonna go in there and beat you up.
And even too with Brass City Sleeper talking into that one, right? We go from OG Badass, which doesn't have lyrics. It's just this really big epic theme. We go to
Yeah.
Brass City Sleeper, which like we keep talking about, it's a bop. It moves your head. You've got all these awesome lyrics in there too. But all of a sudden, we're also introducing different elements. Like the name of the theme is the name of your finish, which that's something that lyrics also give a lot of elements to do. You've got this amazing submission hold, and you know what? It's so amazing. Let's name your song after it. How's that sound?
Yeah, no, it was pretty cool. The Brass City Sleeper, and it's funny because like it's hard to come up with names of moves, and people don't realize like throughout my whole career, they're like, "What are you gonna name that finisher?" What it's really called, like the Fisherman's Buster. Like that's what it's called. So just keep it that way. Like that's the old school OG way, and I'm like the old school type of wrestler, and it's always been like that. So for me to name my actual moves and to put it in a song, it's like this is my cool finisher. Like this is I'm putting you to sleep. I'm from the Brass City Waterbury. It tied it in together, and to have like my entrance name them, like yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
The evolution. I'm telling you, it's all about evolution, evolving, and just staying relevant to a certain extent, but giving a piece of yourself a little bit more to the fans and giving them reason to in depth of what your music really is about.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we tie into like we're talking about the tag team theme, No Pause, which takes elements from Diamante's theme and elements from your theme and ties them together. And I think that, a lot of the times when you see tag teams nowadays, there's either just kind of like a mashup of two of the different songs, right? Literally take this audio file, mix it with this one, put something in it, and we're good. But I feel like with this one, we really ended up taking elements of both of those themes and making something completely brand new that represented both of you. So for you hearing your theme and going into No Paz with Diamante and both of you having this theme that represents you both, how important was it for the both of you to have a theme that took elements from both of them, but was a brand new theme for people who maybe haven't even seen you before to get rocking into what you're doing?
I think it's something like that is super important. I've been a part of a lot of tag teams, with cheerleader Melissa, with Eva Lise. It's just the one thing that they've always done was they will always take whoever's the top superstar and take their music, or they'll play a little bit of it, cut it up, and throw in the other music. So you never got something that was truly part of a tag team. I always thought when you're a tag team, you have to have something new, something that's not just individual, but something new, so people understand that this is the tag team version of you guys. Everyone knows your individual music. You can do the mashups, but sometimes it doesn't gel well. Sometimes you're just like, it sounds generic, and you can't get into the music because sometimes they'll play my music first. I'm like, boom, and then they'll slice it right when you get to the beat into something hard, and I'm just like, I can't bop anymore. Like, this is her music now. All right. So it's very important that when we did this tag music, and going up to Diamante and asking her, hey, do you think we should do a tag team, entrance music together so they're not mashing up our stuff and it doesn't sound right? She's like, yeah, she had to be a part of that. She had to be a part of that decision. She had to be a part of that. And I think for her, it was just making sure that it reflected her music and her entity and her character and her lineage, I guess. And myself was just making sure that we can flow it together where people understood that it goes hard. They know it's her, they know it's me, and now we're a force to be reckoned with as we go on through the riffs. And it was just finding the right entrance and finding how can we go in. Like, we changed that entrance so many times because, like I said, sometimes those ramps are big, sometimes those ramps are small, sometimes you get to one point, you're like, God damn. So we're just at the point, it was just like, all right, let's just get our stage, boom, and once we get in the ring, we do whatever, wherever we are in the music, just as long as we get her shots in and I get my stuff in, and people resonate there. And that entrance goes hard. Like, that's like one of those, that's a gangster. Like, that's we come out there, you ain't messing with us. Like, that we mean business when we go out there, because it's just so hard. It's like, ugh. Like, you just want to get in that mode and just like destroy stuff. And
Oh
that's
yeah.
and that's that music, and it's a reflection of her, it's a reflection of me, and it has both of our elements, and it was super, super important that it wasn't just a generic mashup. She needed a say in it, and I made sure that I had a say in this music, because it's very important for both of us to make sure that when you're a team, you got to have your music as part of a team as well.
Yeah, and shout out to both of you guys, because I mean, I think this goes for a lot of the wrestlers that I've worked with too. But the collaboration has always been great. Like, you guys were awesome in terms of what feedback you had, and I think that it was just a good process to, like you said, be able to have both you and Diamante in there saying, "Hey, here are little different things." But one thing I learned from you guys too was really about timing, and it's not even just like for like musician talk. Okay, measure to measure to measure. Like,
Yeah.
when you're writing music for wrestlers, it really does come down to the timing that they have on the ramp, the timing they have on television. You can really staple down how much time it takes for you guys to get there. And with No Pause, for me, you can even remember this. It was small little microseconds we were talking about. It was like, okay, cool, just extend this by like a second or like 2 seconds. And that makes the world of difference. Not, okay, cool, let's repeat this section a bunch. It's like, okay, let's just extend it by like 2 seconds. Can we do that? Is that a thing? And it makes all the difference for you guys getting to there and just doing your thing.
Yeah, the timing is very important because like I said, when we rehearse it, 9 out of 10 times, especially with AEW, the ramps are the same. Sometimes the ramps are longer, they're steeper, sometimes they're shorter. But the one thing that we want to make sure is that when people hear the music, how long is it going to take from us to get from back to the ramp, and what that section is going to hit, because that camera comes right in your face at a certain point. So every second counts.
Right.
Literally every second. So 1 second, 2 seconds. If we miss a second, then it throws the whole thing off. So when me and her are listening to our music, we literally just shimmy up as close as we can when no one can see us, and we're listening. And as soon as that beat hits, we gotta go. And then we know we have to get in this pose because that camera is running up on us for this pose at a certain beat, so she can get in a position to do her clicks. And then we walk down the ramp, and then we're listening for those beats. We'd have to do another pose, and there's a certain section in that music that we have to get to because we're only allotted so much time for TV. So every second counts. And that's why, when we're trying to get into it, it's important to understand that, yeah, you can run it back, but you don't understand that poses and camera poses and pictures, you have to elongate that because we think about the fans, we think about the cameras, there's cameras roaming. Entrance, like the presence has to be there, and second, 2 seconds and you're off, it throws the whole music because then everything goes off. So it definitely makes a big, big difference coming out and doing what you have to do. Every second counts, and it means the world when you can elongate something that means something, so for people to take their pictures or a camera to be in your face so you can do your pose. Once you do that, that's money, and you can get it down packed. And then once you're in the ring, you do your last pose, and then anything after that is free game, but you have to get those elements in because those are important. That's your presence. That's your, that's what people see. That's what people remember. And that's what people mimic in video games and stuff, is those seconds and those little bits of pieces that go with your music. Because when, people make me in a character in a video game, when they down to the gear, they also do the music. So when they do the music, they look at these entrances and they pinpoint it, and every second counts. So if I'm off by 2 seconds and the music doesn't hit and I didn't do my pose yet, I lost it. So it definitely, and I'm glad like you point that out, because people don't realize that that's very important for a lot of us. It really is.
Yeah, and it can be down even to just like you said, a couple seconds to do something like that. I think when we think of someone coming to the ring, we just see them walking down. We don't think, okay, there's a couple seconds here to give handshakes if you're a good guy, or to mess with the crowd if you're, a bad guy, things like that. So it's something I don't think we think about a lot of the time. But I remember with No Paz, one of the best parts for that for me, and one of the parts that we had talked about was, okay, there's got to be this little downtime before that B section, before like you guys are in the ring. And
Yeah.
I think I had talked to you about it. It almost feels like you have this awesome intro section, you have that swell up, you have the really memorable part up front, but then there's this section where it's just like that synth sound, where it feels like everything's okay. Then the gunshots go off, and then it's like the hardest thing you've ever heard.
Yeah, I remember when we had to put that, and that's because we needed time to get in the ring. That's what it is. Like it's when we rehearsed it like once or twice. And we're like, we had to listen to it. We're like, oh shit, how are we gonna do this? I don't know. Let's just wing it. Like that's literally how we did it. We're like, well, we have to do a pose on the thing, so let me do my pose and just get behind me and do your pose, and then we'll walk down the ring. There's that little, dip stuff, and then as soon as we get in the ring, like, well, what do we do now? I was like, but that's where their downtime comes, because like I said, sometimes your ramp is long, sometimes your ramp is short, but once we get in the ring, we do that pose, and then we listen so we can look around and see if we got time to do anything. And at first, when we had that downtime, it's like boom, 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 boom. We wanted to get to the corners, and we wanted the wide shot so we can do the clicks. But then we realized that it was a little too short, so we're just like, well, we'll just stay in our pose and we'll do the clicks now in the ring instead of going up there, because sometimes when the ramp is too long and we're taking a little too long to get in, sometimes the camera guy's in the way. I got to shoo him out the way, and we get in, and we're like, shoot, we don't have enough time to get to the corner. Let's just stay in this pose and do the clicks. That's where that downtime is great, because it gives us time to figure out where we're going. If we have enough time, we'll get to the corners. If we don't, we stay here to regroup, boom, and then people can see those, that hard shots, boom, 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 and then that hard goes in where we're like, "Argh," and then we can, regroup and get into our match. So it's very important that we have that for a reason, because you don't know what your ramp is going to give you. You don't know what your stage is going to be like. Anything can happen. I can get caught in the ring or something, with who knows? Anything can happen. Cameraman's always in my way 9 out of 10 times. I got to shoo him out of the way because I roll into the ring while she walks up the stairs. So he's always in my way. I'm like, move. So it throws me off because now I can get in the ring all smooth. I'm just like, man. So stuff like that, when we have that little before we go hard, it gives us time to regroup, and then we look at it before we get into our pose. Like, we don't have time now. We're going to stay here. But if we have time, we'll be like, all right, we have time. Let's do this pose, and then we'll get to the corner. So we need that for a reason. So it's very important in our music to do that. I'm sure everyone else thinks the same when they do their music as well.
Now, talking about other people's music too, there's so many entrance themes out there right now, and there's a lot of really good ones too. Outside of obviously yours, because
That's my favorite, yeah.
outside of yours, who are some of your favorite themes that when you hear them nowadays, you go instantly, that's them?
Oh, Willow. Anytime you hear Willow's music, you're like, man, this is just a dance theme. Like, I just want to dance and just have some fun. But that's a reflection of her character. That's a reflection of, technically, is really how she is. Like, she really is that bubbly. You hear that and you're like, oh yeah, this is Willow's music. And I love it. Another instance would be like Adam Cole. He's got that boom. Everyone knows it. That's his theme. That's his shtick. And that's what I mean. Is like, when a music, if it resonates with you, it's going to resonate with the audience. It's going to get them into this energy that you're doing. And I love that. I love listening to themes, and I love listening to, if I can get into it, then it's the right music for you. That's how I look at it. If you can get into your music and you can get people into your music, then keep that entrance, because that's the way it's supposed to be. But I love watching Willow's music. I love watching her and how she interacts coming out of her theme, out of her music. Who else do I love watching? Chelsea Green is another one. She changed her character is so evolved. She's got this pretty look, boom, 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 and she comes out, she does her thing, and her music. And I think it's part of her entrance that actually intrigues me 9 out of 10 times. Because it's just her, and I know Chelsea, and I love Chelsea, but her music is another one that I'm like, she evolved her music, she evolved her character, she evolved the way that she does her entrance, and it fits her theme, it fits her music, and it's a bop, and you're like, all right, but it fits her. And that's how you know when you have that type of music and that goes with your character, people are going to listen to whether you're a good guy or bad guy. They're going to love your music because it's just the way you interact with your music and if it fits or not. Um, I can't think of any others at the moment because there's so many. But Willow stands out a lot, I think, because it's just so upbeat and just like that one stands out. Diamante's music stands out. Like really, like that's just hard G. Like when you hear hers, you're in a fight, and then that's a reflection of her. Same concept. Even Eva Lisa's music, who I've tagged with, her music, same thing. It's so hard. You hear it, and you're like, that you're gonna go in for a fight, and you just bop to it, and you're like, all right, we're gonna get some serious kick ass in this type of music. And then you throw in a Willow, and you're just like, all right, well, are we gonna have a kick ass match, or are we gonna have a dance party?
But that's totally disarming too. You're just like, she does amazing things in the ring, but she's got this other music which completely flies in the face of that. But like you
I
said, it's a
know.
matter of like that confidence, though, right? It's what do you bring to the music, and what does the music bring to you? It's like there's a lot of synergy there. You get to have someone like you who has this presence coming to the ring. You're in for a fight. When you see Willow's is about that entrance. She's getting the crowd involved. She's doing all the clapping. She's going to the crowd. Like, you can't think of a better babyface theme or a better babyface than Willow. And you see that happening
I
live. Yeah.
swear, whoever did her music, they got her spot on. Like that is just her. Like I'm just like, I can't take it seriously when she wants to make me dance and have a dance party, and I'm trying to be all mean. I can't wrestle her. Like, and then I feel bad if I'm gonna hurt her because she's just bubbly character, and then she like just changes gears. Another person for music is like Trick Williams. If you hear
Yeah.
his music, and you got Booker T over here like just hyping him up. You know what I mean? I'm like, can I have music like that? Like, can I get a hype person on the mic just yeah, like can I get that?
But
But
here's the
stuff
question.
like that, it gets the music in.
So if we do that, who's your hype person?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know who would be my hype person for something like that. I always wanted to, if I ever did, like if I ever wanted to go big on my music, I really wanted to like have like an old school OG female rapper, but not like I love MC Light, but like an Hispanic, person. And I'm trying to think of who I listen that's on my playlist, and I can't think of her name at the moment. But she's an OG. I can only think of like her beats and stuff, but I'll get back. It'll click in later in this interview. Watch, it'll click.
Well, you know what? I know you're saying old school, but you know what? Talking about the new school, what about Snow the Product? What about XB Valentine? You got some people there that could totally rock that.
Oh, I love Snow the Product. I think when we talked about that when it came to my music too, was like I kind of want that flow and that beat. I
Yeah.
love Snow, and XB is a new one that I just got into not too long ago actually. And I started following her on her socials, and I'm not on socials a lot, but she's one that's actually coming up on the thing. But I really want to. I really want to dive in, and there's a lot of, not to take away from the Mexican rappers or anything, but I really want to delve into and more into the his Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico has some low down, low key, and they're really chill, really just low key, but they're not as hard as the Mexicans, unfortunately. But XB was good. Snow the Product is good. I just love their lyrics, how fast they can rap, and they're females. Like we need some more female rappers that not talking about drugs and sex and just using, like, not to take away from what's out there now. I don't listen to sexy, or I don't know what their names nowadays, like all these people. I tend to listen to lyrics. I'm a lyrics person, and if you can hook me with your lyrics, and you can hook me with your beats, and you can hook me with your flow, that's what I like. That's the music that I will listen to. If I can't understand what you're saying, it doesn't resonate with me, yeah, you can have a good hook, you can have a good chorus, but if your words don't mean anything to me and doesn't reflect what I'm going through, then I'm not going to listen to it, regardless of how good the beat is. I'm just like, nah, this can't do it for me.
Yeah, Snow the Product's been someone I've wanted to work with for a while, and I know, like you said, we're kind of diving away from that, but just how fast she is,
Oh
and
my
like
God.
you said, the world of lyrics. That whole No Cut album is basically just like, here's me talking about the industry. Here's me just riffing on the industry for 50 minutes. You enjoy
My
or you don't
God.
enjoy, but it's still here for you, just so you know.
She's
But
raw. Like she's so raw. She doesn't care. But
yeah,
that's the way music should be. And music should be a form of therapy. It should be a form of you just getting your stuff out and just saying what you got to say. And the good thing about it is that she can flow in Spanish and in English simultaneously and just
yeah,
go like it's nothing. It's just, like I can't even speak Spanish that fast. As a matter of fact, I can't speak Spanish very well to begin with. And that's just a detriment to me just speaking English for most of my life. But I can understand it, and I'm just like, man, she can flow so well, and that I think that's what makes her different from everybody else. It's just how fast she can flow and how fast she can go from English to Spanish, just like this, and it's just like, all right, like you got me hooked. But the it's her lyrics, is what she's saying is what makes her different too. And you can understand what she's saying, and she has so emotion behind it. Whether it's talking about the business and just dragging it through the mud, even though it's her business, but she's dragging through the political versions of it, or she's talking about a breakup and da da da. Like a lot of people can resonate with that because she's just gonna tell it how it is. She's a badass, man. She don't care. She's just making music the way she wants to make music, and that's how I think music should be. If people are going to resonate it one way or another, and I think she's great. So, Snow, if you're listening to this, what's up with my music? We can do a tag music. Diamante loves Snow the Product.
yeah.
Diamante, she loves it. So let's just get on it. Let's just make some new music, come back in 2025, like hit it in a home run. I don't know how much time I got left. So let's just make it count.
I'm always down. And worst case scenario, just get her to throw on a no pause. We can do that. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, we're doing No Pause 2.0, the
I love
remix.
it. So before we're done with our interview here, what I want to do is I know we touched on it earlier, but three songs. This is four. This is three. Three songs that you would put on a playlist that represents Mercedes Martinez the most. What would those three be for your Spotify playlist?
Oh my, I don't even know, bro. I'm so eclectic in that music, and for my playlist to, it, it's, it's so hard because it's like Mercedes on a wrestling level is different than a Mercedes on a personal level.
How about that? How
So
about I give you two? So you get six, but it's a three and three.
I get six. Oh, great. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate
I
that.
just made it harder.
Nah, well, we have to still go with Eve. Who's that girl? We can't knock that. I just something about that jam. It's just like here I am. Like who's that? Like you got to go with Eve. And I love Queen Latifah. Unity. That's always on my playlist. I don't something about Queen Latifah and that throwdown is something that I really really love. You can't knock down Daddy Yankee. Uh, can't you can't. We got to go with Daddy. If I'm gonna go hard hitting with my reggaeton and stuff like that, I got to go with Daddy Yankee. He's just someone that I listen to in the clubs, someone that I was just like. And Cadron. He's also another, rapper and hip hop reggaeton artist that I love. Can't knock my Mariah Carey. I love my Mariah
For
Carey.
her. As we're recording this, it's the season.
Oh my God, this is her season. This is where she making bank right now. Like her Christmas album, like
Hmm.
but I love my Mariah Carey. She's got me like through all her songs and her albums, even especially her first album, Hero was my first one. That's on my playlist, and it's more of a sentimental thing. It's something that's resonated me since I was young, even before I got into wrestling. That's on my playlist, her first album, and that's just a little dive into the slower versions of my playlist. I do listen to some salsa and bachata. Aventura is another one that I listen to. Johnny Rivera and Jerry Rivera is always in my playlist, and that's just an ode to my mom and to my dad, who supports my career. So I listen to a lot of that stuff. It takes me to my basketball career. It's things that calm me down. There's certain music that will literally level me out, and it's just like, yeah, it's a bop, but it levels me out. Listening to the words takes me back to times that calms me down. So before I get so tempered and so just rage and all that crazy nonsense, these are the musics, and it's mostly Spanish music and freestyle. I listen to a lot of Stevie B, a lot of Debbie Gibson. I listen to anything that comes to freestyle, Lisa and the Cult Jam, freestyle is that type of music that it's going to get you pumped up. So usually my playlist starts with Mariah Carey. It slows it down. I'm like, all right, calm my nerves down. And then we'll get into, Olga, and then we'll get into Pandora to get that hip hop, that swag. Then we'll start getting into some Eve. And then I'm just like, all right, I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. Let's switch it up. And then we'll get into, yeah, because sometimes I get there too early and then it's not even time for my match. I'm like, wait, no. Let's get here. So then I'll dip it down. I'll switch over to a different playlist. And then that's where I listen to my freestyle, where it gets me right to that point where it's still calming, but it's still dancing, but we're not in that mode. Once we get into that grr mode, that's where I go into DMX and the Rough Riders. And then that's a hit.
It's so cool too that you also said like there's all these different things, different points in your life too, from your basketball time from like earlier all the way up to like now in present time, and it's like it shows how much of a time capsule music can be.
Oh
Right?
my
It's
God,
one of
I
those
know.
things that over time you are able to go back and kind of in a way be in that headspace that you were in that moment. And for me, like on my workout playlist and everything like that, I've got newer stuff. A lot of my background is rock, metal, all that kind of stuff, but there's stuff on there from when I was 13, 14, same thing, man. And I'm just like, man, 35-year-old me as of this recording, probably gonna be 36 by the time you're listening. It's because it's in November 30th is my birthday. But it's just crazy to consider that like music can do that. And even for the themes that you hear, if there's elements and things from people that helped raise you in the music side, they're going to get brought back to those times too. And it works in that way where it's not just for you, it's also like the crowd can get into it all, like the people can just be brought back to a time, and that's what's so special about it. Yeah.
Yeah. My playlist, like I said, it's really eclectic, but I try to keep what I can for certain parts of my music when it's my playlist, because like I said, I have to chill, get in wrestling mode. So there's a certain music that has to get there, and then I have to hype myself up. And then sometimes it's too early, so I gotta be like, right, fast forward to. Then we do the dips. I'm like, all right, cool. This is where I gotta be for a little while. And then when it's time for me to get in that headspace, I'm in a little corner and I'm like thinking about my music. I'm listening to my music. All right, now let's go, because there's something that needs to hype me up before I listen to my own music. I gotta get in that headspace, and it's just the way that I do it. And throughout the whole day, it's like that. It's listening to music to calm me down. Maybe something pissed me off. I got to listen to this music just to level my space out. And
Yeah.
it is a time capsule, because there's certain musics. I still listen to my first theme. I still listen to Live at Jimmy's from Angie Martinez, because that's such a do-do-do-do-do. It's like just the beat. It's the dancing. It takes me
Yeah.
back to a time to help me remember from what I came from, and how my music transpired to where I am now. So my playlist is literally a time capsule of things and emotions that I have to go through to get into the headspace to be that Mercedes that people see when I walk through that curtain. It's such a weird vibe. It's such a weird ritual. It's such a weird routine, but it's my routine. And it's what gets me through my matches and what gets me in that headspace to go out there and do what I do best.
And everyone's got their own routines too, and that's
Yeah.
what's really cool about it. Is everyone's got the music that resonates with them, the things that get them there. Well, Mercedes, thank you so much for spending the time with me today. It's always awesome talking to you. We're gonna talk way more coming up, but just getting the chance to chat with you about music, wrestling, all those things, and this amazing career, 24 years and a birthday, all those things. Come
I know. Celebration still continues. I head over to Australia to do a mini tour, and we're gonna kick some ass and have some fun there. Before the year ends out. And I'm blessed. I'm humbled. I'm very grateful to still be doing this 24 years later and still looking like I'm 25. Probably better than I was at 25. Like, I'm
You'll always be
44,
25.
and I don't look a day over 44, right?
See, I'm telling you, I'm 35, 36 going into November 30th. You're like, I'm 25. Next year, you'll be 25. Last year, you were 25. You're always going to be 25.
25 is a good age. I tell people, yeah, I'm just 25. You want to know why? Because you're legal to do everything. You're legal to rent a car. You're legal to do a hotel. You're legal to do everything at 25. Like they're like your credit score is getting there. Maybe, hopefully, like 25 is a good number. I always say that, but I definitely look a lot younger when I was 25 than I am now.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Always awesome speaking to you.
Thank you, John. I appreciate it.